The biggest game in the world of the United States just happened, and the game was great. The scorebug, not so much. Every year the channel granted the privilege of broadcasting the Super Bowl takes the opportunity to try something new with their show graphics or scorebug. Normally these updates are sleek and modern and have an element to them that adds the championship game atmosphere and feel. CBS had other plans apparently. My biggest inspiration for becoming a designer were the sick graphics and visual presentation of live events. So to see designs regress hurts a little, I'll admit. But wait, I'm a designer. What if I just made it myself? First, let's take a look at the Super Bowl itself. 58 years ago, the first one was played in front of a TV audience of 65 million people. Since then, there has been a Super Bowl played either in January or February of every year. While it's nowhere near the biggest game in the world, it's the biggest game in America, and shit, that's all that matters. But for real though, it was expected about 72% of Americans turned in for this year's Super Bowl, which when you think about it for a second is insane. For comparison, the World Cup final, the world's actual biggest game, brings in 1.5 billion viewers, but that's only about 20% of the population. So it could be said that the Super Bowl is bigger in America than the World Cup is in the world, if that even makes any sense. Anyways, with that being said, the Super Bowl is kind of a big deal, at least in the States. It brings in a ton of money, not just for the league and teams, but for places like Wingstop and Domino's. This last one was held in Vegas, naturally, as sports betting becomes even more prominent and regularized, and just about every big name celebrity in North America shows up. Oh yeah, and if you didn't know, Taylor Swift was at the game too. What I'm trying to say here is the Super Bowl is a grand big event, and the broadcast, including its graphics and especially scorebug, should reflect that. This, at least in my and seemingly most of the internet's opinion, does not do that. Last year's Super Bowl 57 between the Chiefs and Eagles was broadcasted by Fox and debuted this new scorebug. It left mixed reviews. Some fans thought it looked cool and futuristic, while others criticized it for being cool and futuristic. Reading through comments and articles, a lot of people hated this one, seemingly more than those who actually liked it. But I tried to find actual reasons as to why people didn't like it, and the only thing other than it's disgusting was it's too big and they weren't a fan of the aesthetic, which is completely valid. That's something a lot of rebrands and designs are missing nowadays. They may be technically great, but they aren't cool to look at, or maybe are even too cool that they distract from what's actually important. The 2012 Fox scoreboard might be one of, if not the most iconic scoreboard of all time, if you ask me and the internet. With a perfect size and shape that gives all the important information in quite possibly the smallest form factor possible, and it was great. I may or may not be biased as this was when I was around 10 and really getting into football, but whatever. I love it, and I'm not alone. I might go as far as to say it was the greatest of all time. The 2023 ESPN Monday Night Football Special Edition on Saturday night might have changed my mind. It's got the classic ESPN look with the full horizontal bottom bar. It's big in terms of the actual number of pixels it takes up on the screen, but because of its orientation, it still feels small and not distracting. But what really sets this board apart is the atmosphere of it. The aura. I mean, just look at it. The bold embossed logos matches with the vibrant neon lines and glows makes this scoreboard feel like a primetime matchup more than any scoreboard I've ever seen. Lastly, I want to talk about a controversial one. I've seen a lot of people praise this one, but I constantly see it at the bottom of ranking lists for this year's scorebug. The Thursday Night Football scorebug on Amazon Prime is actually, at least in my opinion, amazing. Now, I'll admit, it's not perfect and it definitely is not the best, but look at all the goddamn animations. First of all, the primetime aesthetic is there. Maybe not executed as perfectly as ESPN, but it's there. So what's wrong with the scoreboard CBS revealed in Super Bowl 58, and how can they fix it? The most obvious one is the type. Why do the numbers and team names look like LeBron walking under an average height door frame? One of the less obvious problems is this quarter indicator isn't centered. The whole scoreboard is taking up an insanely unnecessary amount of space, and yet somehow at the same time makes it feel like it's not big enough to fit things like who has the ball and team logos. As I was ranting about earlier, it doesn't have any aura whatsoever, which I guess would be fine if they fully committed to the basic bare bones concept, but then they randomly threw in a glow, but only on the line separating the quarter and time and the down. It almost feels like the team kind of decided they wanted to go more minimalist modern or futuristic modern and landed in a weird spot because the team was split 60-40 or something weird. I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. This scoreboard is fucking terrible. The game started and it came on screen as the kickoff was underway, and I legit said out loud that it was awful. I was like, this is booey. I mean, it's so bad I had a friend text me to tell me it's so. The Nickelodeon one was, and I'm saying this unironically, better in just about every way. It gave the SpongeBob and Nickelodeon vibe, it was designed in a way that was easy to understand, and it was made with its audience in mind. They had cool AR features and very obviously pre-recorded clips of audience interactions, but they still weren't as obviously fake as the Gronk FanDuel commercial. While I'm redesigning this, there are going to have to be 3 things that have to be based on the CBS Sports branding. We're only going to use the typeface DIN Pro, it has to include their logo, and it's got to be simple and modern. Immediately I'm tempted to cut apart the horizontal bar and find different ways to organize it. First, everything needs to be a little smaller. I like the concept of using these rectangular boxes as a structural grid for the bug. I did try it horizontally with better sizing, but still wasn't a fan. It has 2010 Madden vibe for whatever reason. Not only that, but we can utilize more space in a smaller form while still being consistent by stacking information. Not only that, but it'll also allow for the audience to read all the information quicker. It allows for better cropping and highlights and TikToks, and it just looks better if you ask me. So I took it all the way and stacked each box on top of each other, which allows me to reduce the bug's footprint even more. Adding in the atmospheric element of the Super Bowl was difficult. Restricting this to a more modern and clean aesthetic limits the different ways to make this feel grand and atmospheric. What color signifies winning in championships the most? Gold, which can be tacky, so it not only has to be used tastefully, but sparingly. All that's left is to export to After Effects and animate it, which is going to take me a minute, so I'll be right back. Now let's see what the Super Bowl would have looked like with this new scorebug. And the right teams.
We are 3rd down and 7 for the 49ers, and you can't help but think that the next play is going to their biggest weapon. Offensive Player of the Year, Christian McCaffrey, who has just had a monstrous season, scoring 14 times. Here we go, quick drop back for Purdy. He sees McCaffrey, and it's incomplete. Got him on target, but great hands from Connor will force Shanahan to send out Jake Moody for a field goal attempt. This one from 35 yards out should be an easy one, as he has been nothing but short of amazing this season. The snap is good, the hold is good, and the kick is good. 49ers 10, Chiefs 7. So it looks like there was a flag on the back end of that last play, and it's going to be taunting on Greenlaw. That's going to be a crucial penalty. Going to set him Mahomes with 1st and 10. Great defense there is going to force a rare incompletion from the man who is looking for a back-to-back. Nearly flawless tonight, he's got a touchdown with 12 of his 14 pass attempts, resulting in catches. Here we go, 2nd down. Mahomes is going to hand it off to Pacheco in the backfield, and he's going to get absolutely nowhere. Great play by the Niners defensive line, stopping Pacheco behind the line. Both of these teams tonight have been exceptional at stopping the run. Both defenses allowing less than 2 yards a carry tonight. Let's see what Andy Reid will do here. He would really like to end this drive with a touchdown, but they don't want to play too risky, only down 3. The ball is going to stay in Mahomes' hands, and he's got time to throw. He's got Kadarius Toney, and the Chiefs have a touchdown! Everybody know this shit fake as fuck, because Kadarius Toney, touchdown, Super Bowl.